Hi, boys and girls. I know that you guys have done a little bit of work on plants with the IU biology department, but plants are kind of my thing. And so I wanted to spend the next week and a half giving you some lessons that I enjoy teaching about plants. And so I'm going to start with this book, What Makes a Plant? When you think of plants, what do you think of? I bet there are several different things that come to mind. Let's go ahead and read to learn what makes a plant. There's some examples. Life cycle. Plants are living things that grow and change over time. They have life cycles. So, like us, plants are alive. Grandpa tree. The oldest tree is over 4,000 years old. Look at that guy. A plant starts its life cycle as a seed. The seed needs water, air, soil, and sunlight. First, the seed grows roots in the soil or dirt. The roots help the plant absorb water. This tree has large roots which help it get water. Look at the roots on the ground there. If you have a very big tree in your neighborhood, can you see its roots? Excuse me. Next, the stem grows. This plant grows roots and then a stem. It carries water and food through the plant. Big stems. A tree trunk is just a big stem. The plant also grows leaves. The leaves absorb sunlight. Sunlight helps the plant make food. Lots of leaves. There are many different kinds of leaves. They come in a lot of shapes and sizes. Some plants grow flowers. This is a yellow dandelion flower. The flowers make seeds that grow into new plants. So once the dandelion is yellow and it gets pollinated by an insect or the wind, it turns into seeds. And those seeds move when you blow on them or when the wind blows, and then they land and a new dandelion will grow. So when you're making a wish on a dandelion, you're blowing its seeds for it. New plants. The new plant will look like its parent plant. So a dandelion that comes from here is going to grow into a dandelion like its mom. A new plant grows from a corn seed. Now, corn on the cob is just a bunch of seeds. The new plant will grow leaves and seeds too. New seeds grow inside these tomatoes. Here's a seed. And the life cycle begins again. Leaves, flowers, stem, roots. There's a nice tomato plant diagram. So we have a lot of different kinds of plants on our planet. And different areas have different plants. I think if you think back to when we studied, the Native Americans, we talked about how Native Americans have different foods and shelters based on where they live, and different locations on the earth, depending on where they are near the equator, have different weather. If you're close to the equator, it's very warm all the time. If you're where we are, you have warm and cold, and if you're up by the pole or down by the pole, it's cold all the time. Different plants have different needs. And so I brought a few plants in, and the first one that I have, I'm going to be using for some experiments. I have 4 tomato plants. And tomato plants we can grow in the summer outside here in Indiana. Now, in the winter, they will die with the cold. We call that kind of plant an annual. An annual is a plant that only grows for 1 year where you live. Now, if I live down by the equator, it's possible my tomato would grow a lot longer because it's warm all year. But because tomatoes can't survive in cold weather, they are only a one season plant for us, an annual. I do have some shrubs and some bushes in my yard that come back every year. They die back in the winter, but their roots stay alive in the earth, and then when it warms again, they start to grow again. I bet you have some of those in your yard. And those are called perennials. A plant that comes back every year is a perennial. So even though they might die back in the winter, when it's cold, they will regrow from their roots. And those are perennials. Another plant that I brought is one of my house plants. This is called a Monstera Ginny. And I love this plant because it has these really cool leaves. Isn't that neat? This is a house plant in Indiana, and it's considered a tropical plant. If I lived by the equator, this plant could grow outside. But because I'm in an area that gets cold in the winter, it has to be raised in a house. So if you live somewhere like Florida or Hawaii, this might be able to go outside and grow all year round. In Indiana, we can enjoy tropical plants by growing them in our houses. And this is one of my favorites, a Monstera Ginny. That's the name of what kind of plant it is. And this plant has leaves that look like this. Aren't they neat? I brought another plant, and this one is a new one that I got the other night. And it's small, but this plant would not grow very well outside in Indiana because it doesn't like to get wet. In the deserts where it doesn't rain a lot, there are plants called cactus and succulents, and those are plants that have very tiny root systems. They do not get much water there because it's very dry, and so they store water inside of them, and they release it over time. But because they have grown in a way to adapt to the dry conditions, if you give them too much water, it could kill them. So I do grow cactus plants at my house, and I have one right here, but I have to grow them inside. Sometimes I take them outside on a hot summer day, but I have to make sure that my soil does not hold much water and that it doesn't rain too much for the plant. So this is a special kind of cactus. A lot of people call it old man cactus. Oh, sorry guys. But if you look right here, it's got a little something stuck to it. Sorry guys, I forgot to turn off my ringer. I'm so bad about that with this new phone. But if you look at this cactus, he's covered in fur. I think that's why they call it an old man, because he looks like he has whiskers. Sorry. Let me try to hit that. Oh, there it went off. And usually when my phone rings, it's not even anybody I know, which is so frustrating. Anyway, so he has those pokey spines. They kind of hurt, but they are bendy. These aren't as hard as some of them. And then he has this nice little fluff. So he's called an old man cactus. But he's cute, isn't he? And they can grow very big. And a guy that I talked to online has one of these that's 50 years old. Can you imagine 50 years old? He was a lot bigger than mine. So I'm going to try to grow this guy. I gave him a name. And I'm excited about it. There are tons and tons of different kinds of plants, and I have a lot of plants. So I'm going to share some of those plants with you through these lessons. And as we go, we're going to learn about all the different plant parts. You're going to have some experiments that you can do at home, which I hope you'll think is fun, because I think playing with plants is a lot of fun. And anyway, I'm going to let you go, and I'll talk to you soon. And sorry about my phone.